We are here to talk through and have a follow-up discussion about the webinar that I gave last year in July, which was Start the Year Strong. And we're going to go over virtually everything that is the same. We're going to go over all of the same topics. The biggest kicker, though, is that now it's time to wrap it up instead of kick it off. So let's talk about our agenda here. We'll go ahead and start in our moments of truth, which results in a club success plan. And we'll do a quick revisit of the Distinguished Club Program to make sure that we are all well aligned on what we need to do as a club this year and our leadership team this year in order to make next year's incoming officers have the very best chance of success. All righty. So the moments of truth. When we met last time, we learned that a moment of truth is every time a person encounters any aspect of the Toastmasters experience and forms an impression of the club's quality and service. That's what we talked about last year or in July. And we talked about these moments of truth as existing at first impressions, walking in the door, or joining into the Zoom meeting. I don't think last July we thought we would still be in Zoom a year later, but everyone is welcomed and warmly greeted and introduced to other officers and members in the club. We don't have any name tags anymore. Everybody writes their own name tag, which is very nice. And it's convenient for everyone. So that's pretty fantastic too. Also, I really find it's so valuable when guests are invited to introduce themselves and to tell us what brought them to our club today. It helps all of the participants in the club meeting, as well as helps the visitor to feel really welcomed. In fact, a table topics host may be able to tailor a call for that person, tailor a specific topic just for them in the interest that they had expressed, or vice, or etc. That sort of thing. I mean, not in my head right now. Get in my head. Please edit that out. All righty. The next thing that we talked about during our moments of truth was about membership orientation. And actually, as a result of the presentation that I gave last year, I helped my club to initiate a member orientation. So we have now a monthly setup meeting where new members will come in and receive an orientation. We tell them all about our club. We tell them how the meetings go, and we get them signed up for a pathway within 1 month of them joining. And we've connected them to the access of the curriculum. We've connected them to understanding every single role that happens inside a club meeting, as well as an overview of potential other roles that they may take in leadership outside of the club. I'm really excited for that. We also really talked at length about membership in these meetings and mentorship, and how we can use our Toastmasters curriculum to address any sort of accommodations that might be needed. So it's pretty fantastic to take something I learned from a webinar that I delivered and bring that into my club. That's been really great. We actually take turns with all of our officers to deliver that orientation on a monthly basis. So one time, each of our officers will do the orientation twice, just about. And we do an orientation every month except December, because it's hard to do an orientation in December around where I work and where our club meets. So that's pretty fantastic. We also have an opportunity to answer questions and help members walk through that Pathways experience. So I think that that's been a really great thing that we've learned about. Fellowship, variety, and communication, another of the moments of truth. One of the wonderful things that I have seen as a Pathways proponent this year is just how everyone is doing their virtual meetings a little bit differently. It's much more obvious in the virtual world when something is different because you're not exposed to a change in scenery. You're just dialing into another meeting like we always are dialing into meetings. And I have seen clubs set up little breakout rooms, and everybody disappears into their breakout room for about 5 minutes. And there's a couple, 2 or 3 people in each room, and they're all randomly assigned, and they just say, hi, how's it going? Who are you? They just take a minute to get to know each other, and they've sort of formalized their casual chat time at the beginning of a meeting so that they can really still feel connected as a community. I think that's really wonderful. And that's an interesting and a unique way to take a look at the fellowship moment of truth. We also have seen lots of clubs do inter-club events. In fact, there is a club that meets every week, but every other week they meet with another club. And so those other weeks, they have kind of a joint club session, and it helps them to see how the other folks do it, both of them. And it helps them to really coordinate across clubs, which is a fantastic thing, especially since we're all sitting in the same room and we can use Zoom this way. So that's a really neat way. I think when we have an opportunity to be present for another club, it really expands our perspective and helps us to see a way that we had never considered. One of the things that's also very interesting is the degrees of formality in clubs. Folks say, oh, you're so warm and friendly in my club. And I go to other clubs and I'm like, man, y'all are superstars. You introduce everybody with their degrees earned and all of the fanciness. And I think that is fantastic as well. So I just love to be able to go to other clubs and encourage my members, the members of the clubs that I also go to, and I'm president or vice president of whatever, really encouraging folks to check out other clubs. It really does also help in the leadership development space as well. And of course, sending out a monthly newsletter or updating through your website so that members are able to see new interesting things, something that maybe they had fallen away and they come back. That's one of those moments of truth, is just meeting people where they are, which may be very much in email. One of the other moments of truth is program planning and meeting organization. I will say that during COVID times, agendas are the thing I probably miss the most. Having that agenda with all of the times printed out that everybody has holding in their hands. I know emails go out and I know we send out our agendas ahead of time, but it is just not the same for me to not be all looking at one agenda. I would love information if anybody has found ways to solve that. Before you know it, I'm going to have a virtual background with our agenda on it, just so that we can all see it all the time. If somebody needs to pin or whatever, pin the video. We talked as well about having creative meetings and creative table topics so that everyone can participate in a meeting, as well as keeping that feedback positive and helpful. And membership strength is another one of those moments of truth. And we're going to get a little deeper into that later on. But I think that aside from agendas, I would say that membership strength is probably one of the biggest challenges that we've seen in this year with COVID. Lots of clubs are doing great and some clubs are struggling. And I think that is another reason why the idea of joining clubs every couple of weeks might be great when we think about going back into our workspaces or into public meeting spaces. You know, there might be some things that we do a little different, but thank goodness for all that we've learned this year. Yes, the last moment of truth, achievement and recognition. Who doesn't love to get a little attaboy, a little great job, best speaker, best table topics? And my favorite gift of all is when you award someone with best table topics. By golly, they can be table topic master next week, and you've already got a role filled. It also very much encourages guests to participate, and it's my favorite little trick about using the agenda to drive engagement. All righty. There are also lots and lots of places where achievement can be acknowledged inside pathways, and I think we're all going to get a little better at that as well as the year, as our time goes on in pathways. All right, so that's our moments of truth. Let's talk about that club success plan. We talked at length, there's my final share button. We talked at length last July about the club success plan. And one thing that I want to remind you is this is what it looks like. This document is 38 pages, and 18 of these pages are worksheets. Every question is important, and I'm confident that today wouldn't be the first day that you thought about your club success plan for this year. With our year wrapping up, the last day of June, I certainly imagine that this is sitting inside your officers folder and that you reference your club success plan every month when you meet as an officer team. But if not, I just want to remind you how very important the club success plan is to Toastmasters. In fact, every single officer training PowerPoint that is put together has a link to the club success plan. Every single officer training provided by Toastmasters has a link to the club success plan. You don't have to write the whole club success plan in one day, but once it's written, you can work from it and you can iterate. So if you haven't got your success plan written, please, please hear me. You should write it. It is such a value because when you set goals for your club and when you define the nature of your club, you're able to reference that and live those goals and live those values and operate the way you all agreed to operate. I think that the club success plan is so, so, so valuable. At the end of the club success plan, there is great talk about the Distinguished Club Program. Because on those worksheets, it asks how many of this award do you plan to get next year and how many of that award do you plan to get? And I want to remind everybody what the Distinguished Club Program is because it is not too late to qualify. There are 10 goals and we use the moments of truth insights in order to attain each of those goals. 6 of them are education goals. 2 are related to membership. 2 are related to club officer training. 1 is related to club officer training. And 2, another 1 check mark is related to administration. I remember that when I created this, I thought those don't add up to 10, but that's absolutely sort of true. They do add up to 10, and I'll show you the goals. Here are the 6 goals for education. We are Toastmasters, and we understand that people generally can hit the ground running a little quicker when they first start. And we know that level 3, level 4, and level 5 projects may take more than just one 5 to 7 minute speech. Depending on the projects that you pick, you'll be doing additional work in those level 3, 4, and 5 projects. There are 2 goals for membership, but you earn the check with 1 check for the first 4 new members and a second check for the next 4 new members. You also have 2 opportunities to receive training through TLI, through our district. And those are June to August trainings and November to February trainings. Both are required 4 or more to get 1 check. And then membership renewals are done on time, both periods, as well as, and this is where you as a club officer group this year will help next year's club officers down their DCP road. Because as soon as you have your club officer list, put it into Toastmasters and they'll give you a yes here and you'll be able to count that toward next year. What you would not want to have happen is July 1st to come around and Toastmasters doesn't know who your officers are, because it will take a phone call and some very physical intervention in order to reconnect your club to Toastmasters as officers, because all the officers disappear on July 1st unless you tell them who they are. And yes, the year I was an area director, one of my clubs was disconnected and I got to learn how to put that back together. So it was a fun adventure. One area, and I mentioned this earlier, is the membership requirement. There are a couple of different ways to look at this membership form, and this is at the top of the Distinguished Club report. When you have the beginning of the year and you start with fewer than 20 members, you must grow by 5 new members. And the number required here is the goal number that you have. So if this club started with a base membership of 13 and they'd added 5, well, we'll just use the numbers here. They added 9. No. They would need to add 5 to the 13. So this is what it started with, and this is what's required. Base of 13, must have 18 to qualify for the Distinguished Club program. In this case, the club only has 9. So the club needs to double in size by the end of June in order to qualify for the Distinguished Club program. So again, it's not too late. You can have one heck of an open house and be very compelling to all of your best friends and neighbors, and you can get double the size by June 30th. Typically and ideally, I don't know if typically is even a good word here, but ideally you start with at least 20, and then you just have to maintain at least 20. We absolutely have members who attrite, and in the case shown here, this club has 1.5 months to get 1 more new member. Unless you meet this required number in either case, your education goals will not be accounted. You just simply cannot qualify for the Distinguished Club program. You have to have the membership in line and the total counts of members in order to get any of the DCP points or toward the goals. So it is a thing to really keep your eye on, and I would encourage anybody who has questions about their membership base to reach out to someone in the district, or having had lots of contact with other clubs, reach out to someone else in other clubs and say, hey, we're running a few members short. Is there anything we could do to find some new members? Have you got an overflow? Maybe there's a club in your area that has too many members and they could refer some folks over to you if they've got some guests. We've definitely seen that successfully happen in some of the clubs I have been a part of. All right, I want to talk now about elections, because elections are, again, this last little line item on the goals list that this year's club officers have everything to do with the success for next year. All right, here we go from our District 7 website. I just put this together today, and this is a nomination form. So anybody could come in here if you have the link, and you could fill out the nomination for anyone, you or another member. I gave them a drop down. I'm confident that this could be quickly replicated in Google Forms. And I said, I want Beth Pinchot to be Vice President of Membership, because that girl cares about people more than anyone should. And I can check the box to send me a copy, or maybe I don't. I can just submit it. Okay. Oh, great job. Thanks for your nomination. Now I am able to go, because I'm using a tool, I can go and use my tool and see who all the nominees are. I don't know if I should do that or not. I don't know if I trust you guys. Well, no, I do trust you all. There's a nomination in there for this girl, this person, this woman, in fact, who loves people way more than anybody ever should. And she should be the Vice President of Membership. So now, as the club officers or the person who is managing the election, that person can just go in and have a full list of folks and reach out to people and say, hey, you've been nominated for this. Is this a role you would be interested in? Is there something, questions that you might like answered? Is there something that we could teach you about that perhaps you hadn't known about yet? And warm folks up to the idea that not only are they already qualified, because we'll give them everything they need to know, they just need to show up and be open to learning, but they have the support of their peers, their club members already in line. I know some of our clubs are kind of small right now, and that's also something to consider because you cannot repeat president. You have to have an immediate past president as one of your officer roles. And I believe, and I would love the correction of my elders, if I believe it is the immediate past president who is ultimately the role or the person that is responsible for managing the election of the incoming officers. Wonderful. I see nodding heads. I'm so thankful for that. So I just wanted to show you that that's something you could do either anonymously, you could do it through a Google form, you could do it through secret ballot, you could have people send you scraps of mail with their pigeons. You could do lots and lots of things to garner names and support in your clubs for the roles that are coming up in the officer land. And you really need to get that completed before June. But TLI is coming up, and we want to make sure that all of our officers, the incoming officers, are able to be trained during TLI. And so in order for that to work, we got to know who they are. So I would just quickly like to recap the conversation. We talked about ending strong with the ideas in our minds that we learned from our moments of truth, a review, as well as the club success plan. And you can start the club success plan right now and give it to the incoming officers to finish. And really, it's never done. It's a working document that should always be referenced during officer meetings and with the club because it's a group project. We're all on this together. So when we use our moments of truth and build our club success plan, then we are well on our way to the Distinguished Club program, where we meet all of our educational goals. And so long as our membership is in order, we will walk away with gold ribbons of joy in our hearts because we will be successful clubs. Let's see here. IPP chairs, immediate past president chairs the leadership committee, which is the nomination committee, and also the current club chairs the actual club elections. Well, that's fantastic. I'm working it out in my first year club, so I guess I get to be both. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for providing us with that insight. I appreciate you, Teresa. And for the thumbs up, Eldred, it's a great thing that we can see each other. And I really I think pretty well done, unless somebody else has a great idea for finishing strong. Thank you, Leanna. I hope that you would love to lead, I'm sure, probably would love to lead us in some Q&A.